manufacturing. If there's been a distinguishing characteristic of the Trump administration over these last almost 4 years, it's been that very thing, at least. They've talked about it endlessly, bringing manufacturing back, sparked a trade war with China, bringing supply chains back. How is Biden going to approach it any differently than has already been the case?
Well, first, let's look at results. I mean, I think Trump has talked a good game, but has anything actually really happened? You know, if you look at the last 36 months of the Biden-Obama administration, job growth was faster in those 36 months than in the first 36 months of the Trump administration. The trade deals with China, there's been a ton of rhetoric, but my view is actually nothing's really happened. There's been phase one of a trade deal that hasn't been enforced, that really hasn't benefited Americans, certainly hasn't benefited farmers. And so you have to actually get things done. You have to say what you mean and then deliver. And that is the strength of Joe Biden. I think it's a huge advantage, actually, that he has been in Washington for as long as he has. Many people say, oh, you know, career politicians. But I can tell you right now, I think we need someone who has the relationships, who is a legislator, who knows how to get things done and follow through, and surround himself with people who can really help him.
Meg, a lot of voters and Republicans certainly will always focus on taxes. It's an important component in terms of their perspective. Biden says he's going to reverse some of Trump's tax cuts for corporations. Of course, that was one of the key features, the 2017 corporate tax reform bill, and impose what he calls common sense tax reforms that make the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share. Are there any specifics there? And as a longtime Republican, does that concern you?
Well, listen, no one likes taxes for sure. But here's what Biden has said. He is not going to raise income taxes on people who make less than $400,000, and he's not going to take up the capital gains tax rate for people who make under $1 million. So I do think that companies may pay a little more, wealthy individuals may pay a little more. But I have to say, David, we are at a very different and I think quite crucial time in American history. Budget deficits are gaping. And by the way, Trump, who is actually not a fiscal conservative, he ran the deficits up prior to COVID in a way that virtually no other president has done. And then you've got the COVID stimulus. I think we need another stimulus. So I think the tax rates may go up a little on the wealthiest and companies, but I don't think it's going to be enough to hurt the recovery of the economy. But it will do some things about the deficit. And Biden has said, which might surprise you, we cannot just run deficits for the next forever. He said, we've got to bring this under control in 10 years. We've got to do the stimulus now, which I agree with, but this has to be taken into account. And I think he will do that. So the other thing is the tax code, as you well know, David, needs a total overhaul, both personal as well as corporate. And it doesn't make sense that there are big companies who don't pay any taxes. I understand why. It's perfectly legal, but it's a fallacy of the tax code where big companies don't pay any taxes in the United States.
And as a longtime corporate leader, you would be comfortable once again raising the corporate tax rate, not necessarily back to where it was previous to the most recent reform, but higher than it currently is. You don't believe that there has been a benefit? The president would certainly speak to the incredibly low unemployment rate prior to COVID for being that reform being responsible for that, Meg.
So listen, I think the economy prior to COVID was frankly riding a cyclical recovery that started in 2008. And, it's a lot easier to ride a wave of recovery than it is to restart the economy. And that's what we're talking about now, which is another reason I think Joe is going to be better on this. But yes, if tax rates have to go up a bit for companies, I think it may be the right thing. Think about income inequality. Think about 25 million people who are out of work right now. Reports are 16 million people are going to be evicted in the next several months. I mean, I think that Main Street is facing a real crisis here. And, another topic we could talk about is why Wall Street is disconnected from Main Street. But honestly, I think we need some very bold action that may cause some people a little bit of pain. But frankly, as you know, most companies don't even pay the current tax rate. They pay lower. And some companies pay none. And I think actually we all got to get in the same boat and start rowing here. And that's, Joe knows how to bring people together. And I think that's what has to happen now.